Commission. Secretary Wynn, was the meeting posted?
Yes.
Item agenda 1.
First item would be the minutes for a meeting of December the 4th, 2014.
Discussion. Move for approval by Commissioner Krieger, seconded by Commissioner McCarthy. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 2, please.
Commission now take up matters to do with special one-day license applications to dispense wines only. Steve Syverson, the president of the Arts League of Lowell, Inc., for premises at 307 Market Street for the Grayscale event on Saturday, January 17, 2015, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mr. Syverson also has a second application, same premises, 307 Market Street, for cut-up on Saturday, March 7, 2015, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. There is a special one-day license application to sell and dispense malt beverages and wine only, or either one, Debbie Daly, for the premises at 189 Market Street for a client holiday appreciation party on Friday, December 19, 2014, from 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. And also, there is a special one-day license application to sell and dispense all alcoholic beverages, Mary Ciccarelli of St. Michael Parish for premises at St. Michael Church Hall at 24 6th Street for the St. Michael School Comedy Night on Saturday, January 24th, 2015, from 7 p.m. to 7 p.m. from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Good evening. State your name for the record.
Steve Severson.
Steve. Ryan, is Miss Daly or Miss Cicerelli here? Hi, could you come up, state your name, please? For the record, thank you.
Mary Ciccarelli.
Thank you.
Debbie Daly.
Okay. Debbie, you look familiar, and Steve, you look familiar. I don't think I've had the pleasure of meeting Miss Cicerelli. Is this your first time applying for a license? It is not? Okay. How many times have you had one? Many times? 3 or 4 times? Okay. All of you are under the understanding that you're responsible for any violation that may occur at your event. You've all been given a list of distributors from Mr. Nguyen. Do you have any questions for the board? No? Discussion from the board?
Yes, sir. What's a grayscale?
It's artwork only in shades of gray.
All right, now I want to know what cut-up means.
Artwork with cut-up paper, like collage and assemblage of just paper.
Really?
Yeah.
How many exhibits do you have like that?
Pardon me?
How many exhibits are there like that?
Of cut-up?
Yeah,
That's just one.
just one?
Yeah. We have every 6 to 8 weeks, we have a totally different show,
All right.
different subjects.
Ms. Daly, this is a client holiday appreciation party for who?
For Daily Designs,
Yep.
189 Market Street.
How's business?
Great.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
And St. Michael's Parish is having a comedy night. All right, fantastic. Discussion for the board? Any other questions?
Move approval?
Move for approval by Commissioner McCarthy, seconded by Commissioner Krieger. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good luck with all your events.
Number 5 on the agenda is the public hearing on the application by the corporation known as CEC Entertainment, Inc., a malt beverage and wine only restaurant licensee for premises at 199 Plain Street, unit number 5, for a change of the corporate offices and manager of record, and that CEC, the corporation, is privately owned by a company known as Quiso Holdings, Inc. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, this matter has been on my desk for several months now. There was just some paperwork that needed to be completed. Presently, we have Michael Balboni here in the meeting room, the council chamber. Mr. Balboni, would you come to the rostrum? He is the proposed new manager for the local restaurant. Whereas the 2 new corporate officers, new president and a new treasurer, each of whom are based and reside in Texas. The new proposed new president would be John Cannonelli, and he resides in Dallas, Texas. And Blake Huggins is resident in Grapevine, Texas. He is the treasurer. The legal notice that was published in the local newspaper recently is specific to the fact that the corporation is being privately held in their shares of stock, and state law would require publication of such. And in conjunction with that, as I just noted, we have two new corporate officers, and Mr. Balboni here before you now, who is the proposed new manager for the local restaurant. Chuck E. Cheese is what it's known as.
Thank you. State your name for the record, sir.
Mike Balboni.
Mr. Balboni, can you give us a little background on you concerning the liquor business?
This will be my first time applying for a license. I've been in this Chuck E. Cheese since March 1st. So it's just that this is my first Chuck E. Cheese that actually had beer and wine.
Yep.
But we have a very, very strict policy on the beer and wine. It's 1 beer per ID at a time, and then 2 for the whole day.
Are you tip certified at all, safe serve, anything?
Safe, yeah.
You
serve
are?
Safe, yep. All my
Okay.
managers are also,
They all are.
yep.
All right. Well, for formality, this is a public hearing, so let me open up the public hearing. If anybody's here to speak in favor, hearing no one, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Open up the public hearing, and anybody speaking in opposition. No one here to speak in opposition. That portion of the public hearing is closed. What is the wish of the body?
I move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Krieger to approve, seconded by Commissioner McCarthy. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Good luck over there. You're all set.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Number 6 on the agenda is a public hearing on the application by the corporation known as Chelmsford Street Quick Mart, Inc., Johnny Cairo's manager, a malt beverage and wine only package store licensee for change of location from its present site at 309 Chelmsford Street to new site at 299 Chelmsford Street.
Good evening, Counselor. State your name for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Attorney Michael Zame for Chelmsford Quick Mart, Inc.
Building looks great. Really, I was worried about the parking, but after it was all said and done, it looks really good over there. I was actually worried about Queen's Pizza, which I go there often, so I was hoping you're going to be nice to them over there. But it seems to be working out well. How's business? No problems over there? All right, so we're just looking here for a change of address. Counselor Zane?
That's it.
All right, wish of the body.
Move approval.
Move for approval by Commissioner McCarthy, seconded by Commissioner McGovern. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Mr. Zane, good evening.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm good. You can give it.
Commission will now open up a hearing. This is number 7 on the meeting agenda. On the allegations of misconduct as charged by William M. Taylor, the Superintendent of Police, in a communication dated November 11, 2014. The licensee known as Camilla LLC, doing business as Reservations, George A. Torres, manager, the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee, was alleged to be in violation on November 8, 2014 of Section 1.16, manager's responsibilities of the alcohol beverages regulations for licenses issued by the Lowell License Commission.
Good evening, Counselor.
Good evening,
State your
Attorney.
name for the record, please.
Attorney John Mello from Lowell, Massachusetts, here on behalf of Camilla LLC, doing business as Reservations, here with the manager, George Torres.
Floor is yours, Counselor.
Okay. I'll start with the November 8th incident as reported by the Lowell Police. In the police report submitted by Officer Daniel James Houston, it's alleged that there were fights that were occurring between patrons that were leaving reservations in Cappy's. I don't know if Cappy's was called before this commission or whether or not they've ever submitted incident reports to the commission or Lowell PD. Since we know nothing about who was involved in the fights, in other words...
For the record, Attorney Mello?
Yeah.
A notification was sent to Secretary Wins on behalf of Cappy's Copycat.
Excellent. So...
Sir, for the record, it was also sent to the Lowell Police Department.
Okay, so I haven't seen that, so I don't know if Cappy's agrees that it was their patrons that were involved in this altercation. The reason why I ask is because it's reservation's position that none of their patrons were involved in this altercation, and that this fight happened, I guess it would be up Central Street, in the Cappy's area, and the fight came down Central Street in a pinball-style fashion from one sidewalk to the other, and I believe a couple of arrests were made as a result of this incident, one arrest being on Hurd Street, where a male is alleged to have punched a female in the face, and the second arrest was made further down Central Street. Reservations does not know of any of its patrons involved in this incident, and I'm just without information as to how it was determined where these patrons were exiting from.
Anything further? Okay. Discussion from the board, please. Commissioner Krieger?
Yeah. I see the point that it's, could be seen as a little murky. Is the officer present?
Yes, Mr. Krieger, Officer Spinney is here with us this evening, and I'm sure he'd be delighted to testify to his knowledge on the incident.
I think I'd like to hear.
All right. Officer Spinney? Approach the lectern. Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Evening.
State your name for the record, please.
John Spinney.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Krieger?
So you were the only officer present, or are you the officer who, I mean, this says Daniel Thomas Desmaris is the one who submitted the report.
Sir, I was present during the altercation that evening, and I was also present during another one that took place, which I believed I was here to testify in regards to.
Okay. Did you see it as coming from reservations, Cappy's, Copper Kettle, both, neither? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, sir. The crowd appeared to be coming from possibly both establishments. However, the offending parties, when they left Reservations nightclub, they walked up Central Street towards Cappy's, and that's where the fight started. So we do believe that they came from Reservations.
Okay. Did the patrons appear to be overserved?
They did, sir. And it should be noted that officers were on scene before the fight started, actively clearing people out of the street, and they were able to see these people walking out of Reservations nightclub.
Officer Spinney?
Yes, sir.
When you were at the scene, did you see any management from either Kappa Kettle or from Reservations on the sidewalk trying to restore peace?
I did not see management, sir. I did, however, see security guards from Reservations nightclub that were wearing black shirts that said security on the
Okay.
back of them.
Thank you.
Good. I think this is something that we should take note of and put it on file. So I'd move that we place this particular action on file.
Okay. I'll hold that motion for 1 second, Commissioner Krieger. Attorney Mello.
Yes, sir.
I guess my question to the manager of record, Mr. Torres, I know that we have some correspondence from Cappy's Copper Kettle of an incident that occurred there, which was mandated by this commission within 48 hours of any incident or altercation. And as of today, I still don't think we have one from reservations. Your reply to that?
Our reply is that the incident, as far as I've heard from the officer, it was an individual that left reservations and then went up to Cappy's to start a fight. So this incident didn't, and this is the first we're hearing of it, as far as the location of where the fight started. Mr. Torres didn't feel like this was on his premises, or it didn't feel like it was his incident. From speaking with him, he told me that the fight came down Central Street, back and forth, in front of Espresso's, back to the other side, and ultimately ended up in front of his establishment. Then one individual went across the street onto Hurd Street and committed a crime, and I think that's where this officer was tied up, making an arrest. So it just wasn't felt that this was an incident that started from or originated from our establishment, but was brought in front of our establishment.
Captain Kennedy, you have anything to add? I know there were other officers here besides Officer Spinney that night. I see Officer Houston, Officer Damaris, I mean,
Unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, they had scheduling conflicts this evening.
Okay.
But Officer Spinney is a recipient witness and has testified to the fact that there was an altercation outside of Reservations Lounge. And I'm a little bit confused about Mr. Mello's interpretation of the events. As Officer Spinney testified a few minutes ago, the security personnel from Reservations was involved in restoring order in front of the establishment. Now, to me, if you are in charge of the establishment and your personnel have to actively go outside and restore order, that's more than enough to require a report from the licensee to the License Commission and the Police Department. And again, as a matter of record, Cappy's Copper Kettle did provide that documentation to both the Police Department and the License Commission. The violation that's articulated in Superintendent Taylor is for failure to comply with the requirements of the License Commission, which seems to be a common theme with Mr. Mello's client. Every time we have a discussion about reservations, it appears to be a revolver on the fact that reservations, for whatever reason, does not follow the rules set forth by this commission.
Secretary Wynn, is this the first time that Mr. Torres has not reported an incident within 40 hours to the License Commission?
This would be.
This would be. Commissioner Krieger?
Yeah, I think that the point that the commission should make to all owners, all managers of record, is that they should be more open about making reports rather than trying to narrowly define the place where they think they may be required to make the report. The reports are designed to help all of us understand, and I think more reports are better than fewer reports. I just don't understand the reluctance.
I'd also like a response from Attorney Mello or Mr. Torres to Captain Kennedy's remarks. You have any response to this? Because Officer Spinney did testify that, in fact, Mr. Torres' security did come out to the sidewalk. So to say, in fact, there was no incident, or, I mean, to not then send correspondence to this commission, I'm a bit baffled.
Well, there's no reluctance on the part of reservations to not report. They have security staff that is essentially at the door all the time, and they police that sidewalk all the time.
But isn't that the reason why we have you file out a correspondence to us within 40 hours that something did happen in front of the establishment.
I believe the regulation reads that if it happens on the premises of the establishment,
Which includes,
which would include their sidewalk cafe, correct? I don't think reservations should be necessarily punished for having their security help out when they see a disturbance. Obviously, it's not good for business if there are individuals fighting outside of their place, no matter where they come from. But again, the actual arrests here, we're talking about an assault that occurred on Hurd Street, and we're talking about another individual that was arrested down the street.
Counselor, you're sidestepping my question to you, though. What Commissioner Krieger just pointed out is we're looking at why was there not any correspondence from reservations to the Secretary of the License Commission that something did happen on that particular night. Let's forget about everything else. Let's concentrate just on that. Why wasn't there any correspondence from your manager to Mr. Nguyen?
Because my manager didn't feel that this incident involved reservations other than the fact that it happened outside of reservations. The police were on the scene, and their security helped in any way that they could. If the commission expects a report made because their security assisted, we can certainly start doing that. But George didn't feel as if this was an incident that originated from his establishment. So he didn't feel to submit a report because he knew really nothing about what was happening other than the fact that there was an altercation outside.
Okay. Commissioner Krieger?
Yeah, I think that what we're looking for is the opposite of a minimalist approach. We're looking for the managers of record to be forthcoming, open. Just because they file a report doesn't mean that we are going to reach out and pull them in and hold a hearing, but we believe that the more information that flows to us, the better it is for everyone. I think that there needs to be reorientation, and I hope that every owner is listening, that there needs to be reorientation. If something happens in your area, if it involves your security people, you should make a report and help us better understand what's happening out there. Because we can't go to every establishment every night. We're counting on you to help us help you.
Commissioner McCarthy?
I agree with Commissioner Cregan. I think the fact that your security staff was involved with this and helped out, I'm sure that was reported back to the manager. We should have gotten some type of notification that there was an altercation of some type out on the street. I think it's almost common sense that would happen, as far as I'm concerned.
I appreciate and I hear what the commission is saying, but I also understand where my client is coming from. Since he felt the incident didn't happen on his premises, so to speak, he didn't feel that he was the responsible party to report the incident. But I do understand where the commission is coming from. There was involvement.
It does say surrounding areas. If you read it here, it says surrounding areas. I would think outside the sidewalk would be a surrounding area.
Well, the sidewalk is definitely a surrounding area. And I hear the commission's point, and I'm sure George does also. If his security was helping out in crowd control, then a report should have been submitted as to maybe what extent they were helping out and in what capacity they were helping out. But it was not a reluctance to file a report. His belief was that he didn't have to because this wasn't, he believed, his incident. But I think he understands now that anytime something happens in front of his establishment that involves his security, he will submit a report. And I think that's loud and clear.
Commissioner McGovern, Commissioner Hogan, any further questions or comments?
If I may.
Attorney Veloso?
I'd just like to point out, too, that under the License Commission's Rules and Regulations 1.16, Manager Responsibilities, it's clearly stated, and I quote, "In all instances where the police are called to the licensed premises, regardless of the extent of severity of any incident involving people in or on the premises, the licensing manager must submit a police report." We've heard testimony from Officer Spinney that it was observed by multiple police officers that it was patrons leaving reservations and going up the street that instigated and were involved in the fight. So regardless of whether or not the surrounding areas were involved, which clearly because the fight was occurred on the street and the sidewalk it was, you also have the fact that you have patrons from reservations observed by Lowell police officers engaging in a fight. That alone would constitute reason as required under Rule 1.16 to submit a report, which was not done in this instance.
Thank you, Counselor. Anything further from the board? There is a motion on the floor to place this on file. I know we have another complaint to listen to. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hogan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. So I would be under the standing that Mr. Torres knows that he's going to call and going to have a correspondence within 48 hours to the commission. Is that correct?
You understand that, George?
Yes, I understand.
All right. Secretary Wynn?
Thanks, Ryan.
All set, Ryan. All set.
Number 8 on the License Commission meeting agenda is a hearing on the allegations of misconduct. Oops. Number 8 on the License Commission meeting agenda is hearing on the allegations of misconduct as charged by William M. Taylor, Superintendent of Police, in a communication dated November 17, 2014, that Camilla LLC, doing business as Reservations, George A. Torres, manager, the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee, was alleged to be in violation on November 14, 2014, of Sections 1.16, Manager's Responsibilities, Regulation 1.20, Illegal Activities, Regulation 5.02, Service Limited to Approved Areas, Regulation 5.03, Consumption on the premises of alcohol beverages, consumption on the premises of the alcohol beverage regulations of licenses issued by the Lowell License Commission. Also, Commonwealth of Massachusetts Regulation, ABC Regulation 2.05, Paragraph 2, illegality on a licensed premises. And last is a Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 41, the delivery of alcohol beverages as a prima facie evidence of sale.
For the record, once again, state your name.
Attorney John Mello, Lowell, Massachusetts, here for Camila LLC, doing business as Reservations, standing with George Torres, manager.
Thank you. Would you like to listen to Captain Kennedy, or would you like to waive the reading at this time?
I would waive the reading.
Thank you. Floor is yours, Counselor.
This is an incident where some females were leaving reservations. As they were leaving reservations, they were accosted by some individuals described in Lowell Police Report, several black males. They were verbally accosting a group of females that were attempting to leave Reservations nightclub. The incident, which involved patrons of Reservations, so I mean they were essentially the victims, should have been reported within 48 hours. The fact that patrons of Reservations were accosted by these gentlemen. The officer, and I believe it was the officer that's here today, he actually noticed this incident occur as it occurred. These males were being accused of spitting at the females and calling them names. And then an altercation ensues not so much physical, but the individuals become belligerent, and they start berating the officers with racial slurs, and it becomes a very testy scene. The report reads that these individuals belonged to a motor vehicle that was stopped on Central Street and pulled up to the curb in an awkward angle so as to impede traffic on Central Street. The black males were not patrons of reservations. They were in a vehicle that was not parked correctly. We believe they may have, according to the police report, saw these females pulled into the curb in an ignorant fashion and then accosted these females. Reservations did fail to file a report stating that their female patrons were accosted by these individuals. As far as, there's also allegations that patrons of reservations were leaving the establishment with beer bottles. I have here tonight the bar manager of reservations, Louis Robles, if you want to come up, Louis. Louis is, I'm sorry, the floor manager. Louis is responsible for managing the floor, overseeing security, so on and so forth. Reservations, their outdoor patio is essentially the sidewalk in front of the building, where they have a roped-off section with some tables where people will go and drink their beverages within the roped-off section and smoke their cigarettes. Louis assures me that any patron that left the establishment that night, they made sure left the establishment and into this corral area. And then once the incident got really out of control, then they brought everybody in. I don't know if what the officers saw were the patrons coming out of the bar with drinks, which they do, into that roped-off area, but the staff at reservations, and George assures me that there were no patrons leaving the premises with open bottles.
Anything further, Counsel?
That's all.
Okay. Officer Spinney, could you approach the lectern for me, please? Thank you. Looks though, in your narrative, that you were there pretty much from the beginning, Officer Spinney.
That's correct, sir.
Could you enlighten me, please?
Yes, sir. On November 14th at approximately 1:41 a.m., I was on uniform patrol in the Alpha Sector with my partner, Officer Vary. Upon approaching Reservations nightclub, I observed a group of females apparently having a verbal altercation with a group of black males. As we approached them closer, I rolled the window to my cruiser down, and we listened to what they were fighting about. And it appeared to be a heated argument with a lot of racial and derogatory terms being exchanged from the black males towards the females. We decided this was an escalating situation, that we should exit our cruiser and move these parties along. As we got out of our cruiser, the females stated to me that they were being spit on by these males, that they had come from Reservations nightclub, both parties, the males and the females. We asked the females if they would continue on down the sidewalk so we could attempt to figure out what was going on with the males. As I approached the males, they began to verbally berate myself and my partner, Officer Vary. We continually told them to leave, to walk down the sidewalk, to vacate the area, as they were creating a public disturbance. The vehicle in question, sir, was parked in front of Reservations nightclub at an angle in an illegal space, and it was blocking a portion of Central Street. We asked the males if this vehicle belonged to them, and they said it belonged to one of their friends that was in the club, and they were waiting outside for him. Again, we told these males they couldn't be waiting here any longer because they were creating the disturbance and told them to move along, to which they did not comply to these officers' requests. At this point, people began to come out of the club, and as I'm looking around behind me, I noticed people carrying Bud Light bottles. And it should be noted that the area of the sidewalk in front of Reservations nightclub was not roped off or cordoned off in any fashion at all. It was a complete open sidewalk.
Were there any tables or chairs there?
There was not, sir.
Thank you. Continue, I'm sorry.
Yep. And I immediately became concerned for my safety, the safety of my fellow officer, and the safety of the public that was on the sidewalk, noticing all these people out there with beer bottles. So I radioed for backup. Multiple LPD units showed up, and at this point, more and more people began coming out of the bar. At the height of the altercation, I'm going to say that there was probably 30 to 35 people out in the street. including the group that I was initially dealing with. Two members of that group refused to leave, became even more verbally assaultive towards these officers and more uncooperative, to the point where we had to make 2 arrests that night for disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. Upon leaving that area, I did notice several Bud Light beer bottles on the ground. I also noticed a bottle of Hennessy alcohol by that vehicle, which was in front of the door to Reservations nightclub. And it should be noted, too, that we had approximately 10 fully marked LPD units tied up on that scene for about a half hour to 45 minutes regarding that incident.
Any other commissioners have any questions for Mr. Spinney before we excuse him?
Was there any security staff seen that night?
Sir, I don't recall seeing any security staff outside of the establishment that evening, sir, no.
Thank you.
Officer Spinney, just for the record, how many units were there, approximately marked units there that night?
I believe we had approximately 10 marked units tied up that night, Captain, and there was cars from all over the city. Car 3, which is generally in the Belvedere area, had to be pulled and tied up there.
Okay.
You know, as I think Car 11 had to come, which is over by the University Ave area. So we need a lot of help there that night. It was pretty out of control.
Mr. Chairman, as Officer Spinney articulated, those units that were called downtown to 179 Central Street have to come from somewhere. That somewhere is the neighborhood. Those are our neighborhoods. So those cruisers are coming out of those neighborhoods to deal with this.
Thank you,
Okay, just for
Captain.
the record.
Mr. Flores, can you approach the lectern? Is it Mr. Flores? Is that the floor manager? What's his? Yes, sir. I apologize, sir. Can you answer Commissioner McCarthy's question? Can you tell me how many security you had on detail on the floor?
We constantly have 2 security outside, actually 3, 1 inside at the end of the night pushing everybody out, and 2 and myself outside making sure nobody passes that patio. The patio at that present time, we brought everything in because at 1:40 we start shutting down. We bring everything in, we close the awning. 1:35, usually the awning's in, and 1:40 everything's all in. So at that present time when the cops came, they did not see nothing outside, of course. The people were coming outside. They were not several bottles. My security's pushing them back in because at that present time we were closed down. So there was 2 security outside at that time along with me.
Okay. I read a couple of the officers' narratives from that night, and all of them were consistent that there were, let's say, more than one person coming out of Reservations with beer bottles. Be that as it may, with the outdoor seating arrangement where there were no chairs and no tables, can you explain to me why even one person was walking on the sidewalk with a beer bottle?
There was a commotion at the time.
No, bad answer.
At
Try
that
again.
time, the present people start to be a little more nosy as to what's going on. The cops was corralling everybody outside. People started forcing themselves outside. Did not pass the patio. There is an actual area where it's squared in, where we usually have that road set up. They did not pass that area.
One officer stated that one of the young ladies was drinking right at the entrance of the door.
Okay, well, that probably was a patron that was probably looking on to see what was going on outside. We were not.
Okay, so I guess let me ask a second question to that. Where was the security at the door?
We were at the door. The entrance is almost like 4 feet. So
Okay.
the entrance of the door to the sidewalk is
Yeah.
like a big gap. So in between that window,
Yeah.
they stay right there.
Yeah.
The security's right there letting nobody outside. At the meantime, while we're corralling everybody else to get inside, yes, there was people holding a beer, and we were pushing them back inside. That girl did not come out, though. She did not come out past that entrance hallway. We have that area with 2 big
How many would
security.
you say how many people were
I'd say
outside with beer bottles, would you
I'd
say?
say I saw about 3, that's it.
3?
3.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, could I get a clarification, please, for the record?
Sure.
As far as the outdoor seating goes, it's my understanding that most of these licenses expire come October 31st, November 1st, there and abouts. Could we get a
Secretary Wynn,
clarification, please?
Secretary Wynn, can you answer that question for us, please?
It's my understanding that the city ordinance pertaining to sidewalk seating for restaurants would have an expiration for the season, October the 31st or thereabouts. So that there should be no licensee should have a table and chair on the public way, certainly after the 1st of November.
You had people that were sitting in chairs and tables that night on the sidewalk?
We had a couple chairs outside with just a chain, just 2 chairs, that's it.
Do you have any patrons that were there?
We had a couple patrons outside at that present time before we closed it in. And then they just stayed out smoking their cigarette. Once we brought everything in, by the time we got back out to bring everybody else in, those were the 2 guys with the beer and the 1 girl in the entrance area.
Commissioners, comments, questions? No.
I guess one question I have, how come there's no report to the police department or the commission about that incident?
I did speak to one of the officers because I am out there constantly making sure. And may I make a note also, lately the cops been coming by and actually congratulating us on how good of a job we've been doing.
I think with Commissioner McCarthy, maybe pointed the question to either Mr. Mello or Mr. Torres. And I know during our first complaint tonight, Mr. Mello, that you were Mr. Torres was kind of iffy on if in fact that incident had anything to do with reservations, but this clearly is an incident that was directly, his establishment was directly involved, so if you could answer Commissioner McCarthy's question.
I opened up my argument on this incident by stating that they had failed to report this incident. They had failed to report that the female patrons leaving reservations were accosted by these males. They failed to report that.
If I can go off subject just for 1 second here. I know, Commissioner Krieger, during the last time you had visited us, that you, Mr. Torres, and yourself were going to get in touch with a...
Terry.
Has that happened?
Yeah, we've done that. We have a letter here. Well, I have a letter in the file anyway. November 14th, George met with Terry Williams. This is a letter from Terry Williams stating that he met with George to discuss the issues regarding the business. Terry was planning on meeting with the city's Department of Planning and Development to discuss ways that he can work with the business, and Mr. Torres will be again meeting with Terry Williams. They have another meeting scheduled for, is it February 2nd?
Yes.
That was a letter from Mr. Williams on November 14th?
On November 14th. Yeah.
Could I have a copy of that, please?
Absolutely. And also,
Thank you.
Mr. Torres is still working with JBS Professional Services. They have, and let me just be very accurate with the type of training that will be done. Safe ID check training class and a GIS security training class that Mr. Torres has spent quite a bit of money on.
Okay.
That is going to happen January 14th?
Correct.
January 14th.
On the night of this incident, Mr. Torres, were you in your establishment?
Yes.
Tell me what you were doing at that time.
At that point in time when we were vacating everyone out, like you said, 141 was when the officers came in. So we were still running business for another 4 more minutes. And like he stated, we took everything out from the patio. I mean, I think that it was just more on the case of disrupting the peace. And, you know, you have all these people watching the news, and they were there with their video cameras, you know, just pretty much, you know, not cooperating with the police. But pretty much they ended up arresting 2 people, and they ended up leaving right away.
Did you at any time speak with any of the officers that were at the scene?
No, because when I came outside, pretty much everything was done. Like
What time was that?
Pretty much 1:45. I mean, everything was done. I noticed.
Are you sure about that? 1:45?
1:45, we got everyone out. So pretty much while everyone was out, by 1:48, 1:50, everybody was out. So
Everybody was out of the club.
everybody was out of the club, yeah. And then by 1:55, like, the streets were clear.
At no
Not even-
time, though, did you try
by
to
the-
get in touch with any of the police officers to see what transpired in front of your establishment?
was, no. I mean, we were talking to the police officers right there in sight.
Were you aware of patrons having open containers on your sidewalk?
No,
You were not
I
aware?
was not aware.
Okay.
And not to take away, again, reservations failed to report the incident, which was my opening remark, and not to take away from the severity of that. When you read the report, what happened between these individuals, these black males and the police, was very racially motivated. There's a lot of things that are redacted, and I think they were calling the police a lot of bad names. And I think this has more to do with the Ferguson media, the NYPD media, and everybody's in this panic. So now every time someone sees the cops and an individual, in this case black males, the black males are were reported in the police report, what are you going to do? I know my rights.
With all due respect, Counselor,
Yeah.
I'm more concerned about the manager's responsibilities in this complaint.
And I appreciate that, but a lot of mention was made at how many units were sent over to the reservations area. And my point being is, reservations did fail in reporting the incident that occurred.
In your opening remarks, Counselor, you mentioned that you didn't think that the 5 or 6 males were patrons of reservations that night, but I did note that Officer Spinney said they in fact were in reservations that night.
I don't see any of that, not to challenge the officer's veracity, but I see nothing of that in his report. His report reads that the females were exiting reservations.
Officer Spinney, can I have you just approach one more time just for clarification? I want to make sure I understood you correctly.
Yes, sir.
Did you, in fact, tell this board that it was your understanding that the males were consuming alcohol at reservations?
That's correct, sir.
Thank you very much. I'll leave some more discussion here for the board. I do have some closing remarks. Commissioner Krieger?
Yes. I know the direction that I'm leaning with regard to this activity, and part of it would be that Mr. Torres should return to the board, not for a hearing, but to help us understand what he absorbed, what help he was given, 2 different things, from his time with CTI and Mr. Terry Williams, that as a way of following up. Because having businesses knowing what they're doing and doing well is good for this city, and not is bad for this city.
Commissioner Hogan?
Yeah, I'm not looking to beat a dead horse, and I know that you guys have admitted that you forgot or did fail to file a report. Was there any reasoning? I mean, I understand that the last time you didn't think it occurred on your property.
Yeah, and that's a good question. I think the confusion lies in, because the police saw this as it happened and because the police presence was essentially immediate, they failed to report it because they thought it essentially was being reported. What I think they failed to understand is, not only is it going to be reported on by the Lowell Police, but in addition to that, it has to be reported on by the establishment.
How many other reports has the establishment made regarding incidents that have happened? Ballpark.
I don't know. Have you ever made a report?
This is the first time. First time.
No. I don't think any reports have ever been made.
It just seems to me that.
But I'm also not aware of any other incidents occurring at the
No,
site.
I'm certainly not suggesting that. It just seems that continually Mr. Torres is in front of this committee because he misunderstands, or he's unclear, or he doesn't realize what the processes and procedures are. you must see our frustration with that.
Of course I see it.
I think what worries me as well is, and going back to the first complaint, and I know Officer Spinney testified that he was fairly confident that many of the patrons were quite intoxicated. And also in this complaint, it's noted by several officers that in fact they witnessed many patrons highly intoxicated. Concerns me as well. Now, I feel like I'm playing with Russian roulette, and I'll tell you why. My thought here is this board has been very accommodating to Mr. Torres, and we want business to succeed in this city. And we appreciate that he is seeking advice in order to run this establishment. But I feel like this is a very toxic environment right now. I just do. I feel like something is going to happen that this board is going to regret not doing something. And I'm going to let the other commissioners speak, but I've had enough, I think. I really do think I've had enough. I don't, these are some of the complaints that have come before us for reservations. I don't think you have to be in the bar business a long time to use common sense. And this complaint, this is one of the major sins in owning a bar business. If you can't handle your patrons inside, never mind outside, you're in trouble. And here we are approaching the holiday season. Bars are getting busy. And I'm not confident that Mr. Torres can run this establishment. I'll end my remarks there. I'll let the other commissioners speak. Commissioner Krieger.
A few months back, I can't remember if it was Brian's Ivy Hall or Finn's Pub, tried to make the argument that the policeman said there was no need for a report. The police do not work for us, we do not work for them, but we cooperate closely. However, the police do not have the authority to waive a requirement for a report. Reports have to be filed. They are for us and for the police. It's a good quality control measure. It's a chance for the bar owner, the manager of record, to state their position. It just is not acceptable to not report.
Any final comments from the rest of the members of the board?
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, that I'm happy to see that Mr. Torres is getting some guidance and working on that, but it seems like we're really going backwards here in the last few months. We're not going forward. The one question I have is, when this disturbance went down, how come, Mr. Torres, you weren't outside to see what was going on and talking to the police to make sure things were happening the right way?
In the beginning, I didn't see an issue. I mean, I didn't see the beer bottles. I didn't see any fights.
You see 10 police cars outside your door?
I did see, and I was actually cooperating with them, letting them know what was actually going on.
Hold on 1 second. Excuse me, Commissioner McCarthy. I just asked you if you had any dealings with the police, and you said no.
Yes, no, I didn't say no. I didn't say no. I said that you asked me when did I go out, and I told you at 1:50, and then.
I said, did you have any communication with the police officers, and you said no to me?
Well, me specifically, no, but
That
my
would be
floor
you,
manager,
yeah?
yes. Part of the behalf of reservations, they spoke with the police.
But as the manager,
Because when I spoke with them, this issue was cleared up. So I didn't see that it was need to even make that phone call.
Did you speak with one police officer too? Did you see Mr. Officer Spinney at all, or did anybody? Floor manager did?
Was there?
You spoke with Officer Spinney?
I spoke with Officer Spinney. I did speak. I actually constantly speak to the officer.
Come up here so you can hear you.
I do speak with the officers outside. I know Officer Spinney has seen me outside. I have seen Officer Spinney before, too.
Okay. Commissioner McGovern, you have any comments?
Yeah, just sort of to piggyback. I mean, I have a grave concern about allowing things to continue in the fashion that they have been. I mean, you know, months ago, it was that we were going to get some assistance, and while yes, I see that you've made the effort, engaging a company as opposed to also maybe using some common sense. I just, allowing this to continue, I think, the way that it's being run, I think we're going to end up seeing a major issue there, and I have a really big concern about that. And as, you know, we really want successful businesses downtown that are responsible, and I think that what's been going on is really become a grave concern, not only to both this commission and I think probably residences in that area.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hogan, any final comments?
I don't. It strikes me as every time that you have been here, it's because you are unaware of a rule or a regulation or how to enforce it, and that just concerns me quite a bit. I'm not sure at what point you understand what the rules and regulations and responsibilities are.
If I could make,
Sure you can.
I think an important point, add some facts here to the record. Since these two incidents occurred, Mr. Torres tried putting together a way to change or help security. And he actually, on December 6th, purchased a detail from the Lowell Police. I went down to the police station, paid $200, and the deal was there was going to be an officer there, I think, 10 to 2? And on December 6th, an officer showed up at 1:40 a.m. So he has been trying, I think, to add, he's been trying to come up with ways to kind of change things as they're happening. But I think essentially the issue is preventing them from happening. It's the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So I think that efforts need to be made in that preventative medicine.
I have to say, I'm glad to see that he made the effort to get the detail. Has he done it again, or is it just that one time?
Since I've been on the board the last time, I've been constantly calling for a detail every week.
Okay, and
So,
have they been able to staff that?
no, I mean, I don't even know what I'm paying for. I'm giving $200 to the police station. This is my second time I'm about to do it again. It's been $400 already.
Captain Kennedy, has there been communication with Mr. Torres asking for a detail?
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I can get a clarification perhaps from Mr. Mello, the date of request was December 6th, is that correct?
No, the date of request would have been before December 6th. The detail was purchased for December 6th.
For December 6th, okay. We have two incidents, one on November 8th, and we have another one on November 14th. So that there seems to be a fairly significant time lag there in the request for the detail officer. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but would that be correct?
Correct to me. Secretary Wynn, does the reservations have any days that have been held in abeyance at this point?
Yes, there is a instance where the decision of the License Commission was a 5-day suspension, and 2 of those 5 days are in abeyance presently till the end of July of 2015.
Attorney Mello, what is the reservations' hours of operation?
I believe since football season there, what is it, George?
We're open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday.
If football season's open, you're not open on Sundays? Is that what you said?
They've always been open on Sunday?
Yeah, but it's been hard to pick up business on Sunday now that it's cold.
Captain Kennedy?
So prior to the 6 days, what were the hours?
4 to 2. 4 to 2, Monday through Saturday.
No, That's the 6 days now. Before you went to 6 days,
Or before?
was
Yeah,
Wednesday through,
Wednesday through Sunday.
When did you commence the 6 days of operation?
Monday through Saturday.
Attorney Mello, when did he start?
when did you start the 6-day
Oh,
operation?
when did I start? When the Monday night football started,
So September?
September? Okay, I'll go for Monday.
Mr. Chairman,
Captain Kennedy, go ahead.
prior to the board making any sort of decision on imposing any discipline against the licensee, I'd just like to take this opportunity to remind the board that the licensee has been in front of the board numerous times. And as we push forward in time, the violations become more serious as we move on. As you can see from the most recent complaint, we have a culture in this establishment where patrons seem to feel they can leave the establishment with open containers of alcohol. We had a disturbance that required the presence of 10 uniformed police officers. And again, I would like to take this opportunity to remind the board that those officers just don't appear. Those officers have to be pulled out of the neighborhood to deal with the disorder at 179 Central Street. If somebody in one of the neighborhoods, particularly one of the outlying neighborhoods in the city, needs a policeman, it's going to take a while to get a policeman there. And I would like to take this opportunity to remind the board of that fact. So the long and short of it is, if someone in an outlying area needs a police officer, there's a good possibility we're either A, going to have to get them from out of town, or they're going to have to come from downtown, which creates a litany of public safety hazards on his way from downtown to the neighborhood. And I'd just like to remind the board of that fact, and I would respectfully ask the board to take that into consideration when considering the discipline to be imposed against reservations.
Noted, Captain Kennedy, thank you.
If I could comment on that. I mean, there's no dispute on this date, reservations failed to report an incident of their patrons being accosted. But if you read the police report, the altercation with these 5 to 7 black males was a racially motivated altercation. They turned on the police, they had a mob mentality, they were inciting others to do the same, and reservations, they're not spiking their drinks with racism. They're at fault for a lot of things, but racism they are not at fault for. This is a time when we're dealing with the Ferguson media, this is a time where we're dealing with NYPD media, and whenever something happens with police, this is what's starting to happen.
Counselor, I don't
I have to
disagree
take
with
issue with that. I want to make it.
Hold on. Let me, Commissioner Hogan.
Thank you. I don't disagree that there's, certain things going on in the media, but that has nothing to do with the amount of alcohol that's being served in the establishment that is helping to create these issues when people exit the establishment. And that is fully the responsibility of your client.
And I agree with you.
So when someone gets drunk, they tend to get a little more racially motivated.
This is going back to the argument made by Lowell PD that because of reservations' actions or inactions, 10 cruisers were caused to go to the scene.
Would it have been better if there were 2?
It wouldn't have been better. I wish there weren't any.
I don't disagree.
But at the same time, I admit at my client's wrongdoing, but it wasn't just because of reservations that this happened.
And so you don't think that the intoxication played any part in that?
I don't know. I don't know if intoxication played any part of it. Usually, to prove intoxication, we're dealing with field sobriety tests, we're dealing with breathalyzer tests. Having patrons leave a bar smelling of alcohol, I think you're going to find in any bar throughout the city. So I don't know.
Attorney Veloso.
I have to take issue with the implication that either the officers instigated this incident or that some sort of racial issue is clouding what happened here. I think what clearly happened here was that there is a lack of control at this establishment over the following of the rules and regulations, and it is leading to severe safety issues both that the police have to deal with and the city has to deal with.
I think I'm
This
going
establishment has
to
been
cut you off
before-
right now because I think you said the key word, and I think you made your point. Safe. I don't think the city, I don't think this, it's the city's responsibility to do Mr. Torres's job in keeping the rest of the public safe when his patrons are intoxicated. And that's what it comes down to, is making sure that the rest of the patrons who were in that establishment, and all patrons who are walking on the sidewalks, and people who walk on the sidewalks, they weren't safe that night. And I think it's quite clear the reasons for that. So unless the other commissioners have any other additional comments, Attorney Veloso, I just thought you made your point, and I cut you off there, and I apologize. But I think you made your point, and I think that's what this commission's job is, to make sure that the city is safe. And at that night, when you have 10 cruisers coming, you know what? We're leaving ourselves wide open for anything else in the city. And we can't do that, and this board will not tolerate that.
The police did not instigate the incident.
I don't think that's what
And
is
that's
being
not
said.
what-
And I want to stay on task here.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
The individuals, those 5 to 7 individuals, instigated the incident.
Who are also patrons at reservations that night, testified by Officer Spinney. So I don't know if you could refute that.
The information I have is that the only patrons that were leaving that establishment were the females that were being accosted. The males that accosted the females were not patrons at reservations. They belonged to that motor vehicle that pulled up to reservations and was stopped at that awkward angle blocking traffic.
All right, Commissioner Krieger, final comment?
I'm ready to move a proposed punishment, so.
Would you like to be the maker of that motion?
Yeah, I would like to move that we suspend the license for 5 days, that in that 5 days, we put 2 in suspension for as long a period as we can, and we bring those 2 days that we held in suspension before, so that it ends up as 5 days, license suspended in fact, and 2 days held out in abeyance. And in addition, that Mr. Torres be scheduled next year to come in and explain to us what he has learned and how the city has helped him and how he's going to be going forward. I leave the scheduling to our executive secretary and Mr. Torres.
Before we have discussion on your motion, I want to be clear on the motion. You are, in fact, have a 5-day suspension with 2 held in abeyance, but also taking the 2 that were already held in abeyance to be served.
Right, so you have 2 plus 3 for,
So 5 days suspension with still another 2 held in abeyance. Is that clear?
yes, and that held in abeyance would be held in abeyance for, how far can we hold them out in abeyance, Mr. Nguyen? A year?
Well, certainly you can have it limit to a year or even a longer period. As it stands right now, the 2 days held in abeyance, essentially, I trust, if this I may say this, would be served by the licensee as a suspension. In addition, a 5-day suspension, 3 of which would be served presently, currently,
Yes.
with the 2 days previous. And those 5 days suspension, 2 of which to be held in abeyance. Now, the 2 days that are presently held in abeyance are till July 31st, 2015. So it's within reason, I would think, that the commission might want to extend that 2 days to the end of the calendar year 2015, December 31st.
That's
Is being
fine.
held in abeyance.
We can do that. Let's, on Commissioner Krieger's motion, any discussion on that?
What week?
Well, I guess my discussion at this point, I'll schedule the suspension dates, but, and with Mr. Nguyen, but I guess, are we looking at any additional discussion, or either less days, more days, or is other commission okay with that?
Mr. Chairman, I just think with the conditions and the things that are happening over there, and the number of times that they've been in here in front of us, reservations been in front of us, I think it should be more than 5 days. I like to recommend 10 days with 3 of those 10 days held in abeyance.
Once again, for clarification, Commissioner McCarthy, presently, we have 2 days held in abeyance. You would like those served. You then have a 10-day suspension with 7 served and
Correct.
3 held in abeyance,
Correct,
for a total of 10 days,
9 days.
9 days being served.
correct.
Okay. I'm still going to have discussion because I'm not calling for a second at this point. Commissioner Hogan or Commissioner McGovern, do you have any other further comments? Okay. I would need a second on Commissioner Krieger's, or if Commissioner Krieger would like to step aside and let Commissioner McCarthy's motion be heard.
Yeah, I'd like to stay on the floor and see if I get a second.
Okay. There's a motion by Commissioner Krieger on the floor that we have a 5-day suspension, 2 that were held previously in abeyance, 3 more being served, with another 2 being held in abeyance to the end of the year of 2015. Is there a second? Hearing none. The substitute motion on the floor from Commissioner McCarthy is a 10-day suspension. The 2 that were held in abeyance will be served. The 7 days on this 10-day, with 3-day being held in abeyance. Those 3 days will be held in abeyance till the end of the calendar year of 2015. Is there a second on the floor? I'll second that motion. All right, let's all chime in here. Anybody, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Commissioner Krieger?
Well,
Yea or nay?
I vote yea on the Commissioner McCarthy's motion.
Yea. Commissioner Hogan? Yea. Commissioner McGovern?
Yay.
Yea. Chairman states yea. The motion passes.
So may I just have you, Mr. Chairman, reiterate so that
The motion on the floor that has passed, Secretary Wynn, is a 10-day suspension. The 2 that were held in abeyance previously will be served. And actually, is it 8 more days then, right? 8 more days of the 10-day suspension would be served, with the other 2 being held in abeyance. Therefore, 10 days served.
No, 7
Oh,
and
7?
3.
Oh, 7 and 3.
9.
Oh, boy.
can I just?
Yeah,
offer
please, go right ahead, because now
comment?
I'm confused.
With respect to Commissioner McCarthy's motion, seconded by Chairman Dakota, we have 4 yeas, 1 nay?
No, unanimous vote.
Unanimous, I'm sorry, I beg the Commission's pardon. So, that being said, the 2 days to be 2 days held in abeyance from decision of the licensing board earlier this year to be served. In concurrent with that would be an additional 10-day suspension, 3 of which to be held in abeyance for the balance of the calendar year 2015. So a sum total of 9 days suspension to be served, presumably in consecutive days, or?
That may be a problem for the fact that Attorney Mello has stated that they are not open on Sundays. So if we're looking at the possibility of Mr. Mello's client appealing this, I would like to schedule the suspension for January 5th which is a Monday. We'll be running the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th. That is 6 days. The 11th, they're not open. On the 12th, 13th, and 14th, and 15th. That'd be 10 days.
9 days, 14.
14, sorry, that'd be the 9 days, yep.
So, days of suspension to commence Monday, January 5th, 2015, January 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. Then, because the licensee has a closed business on Sunday, the commission will then choose to have the suspension period for January 12th, 13th, and 14th,
That is correct.
for a total of 9 days to be served.
That is correct. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you.
Commissioner McCarthy.
If Mr. Torres should change his hours or days of operation up there, we will adjust the closings?
Attorney Veloso, can you answer that question for Commissioner McCarthy?
If the establishment does change its hours, certainly I would say that the punishment that has been placed is expected to be run on consecutive days. So if the establishment changes its hours so that, say, they are open Sunday, they can't simply change their hours just to avoid a punishment. They're going to have to serve the punishment on consecutive days, regardless of what the schedule is.
Thank you.
Thank
Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
Thank you, yes.
All right. That concludes the complaint. Thank you, Attorney Mello.
Merry
Mr. Torres?
Christmas to everybody.
You as well, sir.
Thank you very much. Louis Robles. R-O-B-L-E-S.
You didn't hear, did you get it?
No problem.
Secretary Wynn?
With respect to the agenda, number 9, alcohol beverage regulations for licenses issued by the Lowell License Commission. This is a matter we were discussing in October. Does the board wish to resume discussion on the regulations at this time?
I'll yield to Commissioner Krieger. Commissioner Krieger?
The portion that Executive Secretary Wynn has done, I thought was excellent, except for page 7. I'd put a colon on the first sentence in 1.21. And then on page 9,
I'm sorry, so page 7, a colon?
yes, on 1.21, that first sentence that's sort of hanging out there, related thereto.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand what I wrote here.
Can we just, if I may just ask the commission, if there are any changes that any member of the board would like to have, just forward them to me by way of email, and I will correct that, make those corrections, and then share that with the board subsequently. And if the board wants to pursue it any further on that sense, we can take it up again at another meeting.
I'd like to propose that we accept this rewrite with the colon added, and we date it as of this meeting. I think there's still some outstanding issues for us to discuss, because Mr. Wynn has dealt with them. But there's still the question, I have about a half dozen questions which I'd like to pursue in maybe second meeting in January, and I will resubmit those to Mr. Nguyen, and I don't know if by the open meeting law, do I have to just give it to Mr. Nguyen, or can I send it out to everyone? It's a resubmission.
I'm sorry.
His questions to Attorney Veloso.
I would say that if the commissioner wants to propose additional amendments to the rules and regulations, it would be subject to public hearing, ultimately because the commission would have to ratify those proposed amendments.
Yes, I agree that it's, a public hearing is required. The question is, I pass this out once, should I pass it out again? I'd like to pass it out again to narrow us down onto the specifics. I can send it to everyone on the commission via email, right?
Yes, I believe you can.
Good. And so that's my motion, that we add a colon, and we approve, and we schedule a meeting for some substantive questions in January.
Attorney Veloso, just because we've made changes here, should this be a roll call and not a motion?
I would suggest a roll call just so it's clear. A motion could work as well, but I would say because these are amendments to the rules, every
That's what I
commissioner
thought.
would have to be accounted for
Exactly.
as to their decision,
Right.
so yes.
If you could, Secretary Nguyen, a roll call on the acceptance of
The semicolon.
the semicolon. Absolutely.
So with respect to the regulations of the alcohol beverage regulations for licenses issued by the Lowell License Commission, as of this date, December 18th, 2014, motion or consideration to accept those minutes, those regulations, such with the add-on of a colon.
Semicolon.
And,
Oh, a colon.
Oh, colon.
Gotta have the colon.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
And so, roll call, okay. Chairman Dakota,
Yes.
Commissioner Krieger,
Yes.
Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner McCarthy.
Yes.
Commissioner McGovern.
Yes.
Ryan,
Okay.
thanks a lot for all the work on this, by the way. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome. Number 10 on the agenda is 2015 renewal of alcohol licenses for hotel, restaurant, members club, and package stores. Just to give the commission update, as of tonight, I would like to have the board just ratify the granting of new licenses for 2015. It is incumbent upon our licensees, particularly the on-premise licensees, to continuously maintain compliance with the building code and fire code and health code. I know that the Office of Developmental Services is working very hard to put all their paperwork together so that I can have it for the file for each of our licensees. Also, each of those licensees that have on-premise licenses are required to have liquor liability insurance, and I'm looking for from each and every one of our licensees to make sure that their certificate policies are going to carry them into the calendar year 2015. So it's a kind of an ongoing process at this time of year. It doesn't quite end with everything together. In some instances, we have certain business owners who don't submit all of the required documentation until the day before the 1st. So it's not uncommon, but I just wish the board to ratify those licenses. Late this afternoon, I emailed a Excel file. I don't know if anyone had a chance to look at it.
Yes, we did. Thank you.
On their website, on their email. It's listing all of our licensees.
Why don't we make a motion to ratify the 2015 renewal of alcohol licenses for hotel, restaurant, members club, and package stores? Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hogan. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And last but not least on the agenda is a communication from Christopher McCarthy. He asked me if I would put it on the board's meeting agenda. Lowell Julian Loan, 24 Merrimack Street. Filed it December 4th, and it's regarding reporting transactions to the Lowell Police Department. I think it's self-explanatory. The board has a chance to look at it. it may be something that the Lowell Police Department may want to offer some comments later on.
I
not
know
necessarily
Captain,
tonight.
I know Captain Kennedy just got this, so maybe, can we put this on the agenda for our next meeting? Maybe, I'd like to have Captain Kennedy just give us a lowdown of what's going on and what some of the concerns from the owner over there, if you don't mind, Captain Kennedy.
We'll make arrangements for that, Mr. Chairman, but just for the record, this seems to be the wave of the future in terms of warehousing information with private vendors. That
Right.
is, that's where the information age is going.
Yep.
And, we're certainly not immune from it.
Okay.
And, I read some of the concerns that Mr. McCarthy expressed in his correspondence to the commission dated December 2nd, 2014, and I think, I think we'll be able to, resolve those concerns in the course of a discussion.
Okay. Commissioner McCarthy, anything on that?
No, I just questioned it with the captain. I think we need to discuss it.
Okay.
I think maybe somebody from the police department who's handling this could come and maybe talk to us on it.
No, we'll be happy to do that, Mr. McCarthy, but, again, with the warehousing of information and so forth, that there are businesses and entities that do specialize in these types of business endeavors. They're insured, and their business practices are very secure. Otherwise, we wouldn't offer them contracts to store this type of information. We certainly, as a police department, recognize and appreciate the fact of the sensitive nature of this information, and that's why these vendors are chosen, to ensure to the best of our ability that this information is as safe as possible.
Thank you, Captain.
And Captain, I don't disagree with that, and I don't disagree with the procedure you want to put in effect, but it seems that it's not clear to those people that run those types of businesses how this works. It seems to be that's what I'm hearing.
No, I understand, and I certainly understand the reservations and concerns expressed in Mr. McCarthy's letter dated December 2nd. And, as I said, I think in the course of discussion, we hopefully can open a dialogue and address all those concerns.
And for the record, Mr. McCarthy is no relative of mine.
Thank you.
Commissioner Krieger?
Yes, I just am assuming that Captain Kennedy and Commissioner McCarthy do not own any Sony stock.
Noted.
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned by Commissioner Hogan, seconded by Commissioner McCarthy. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Everyone out there, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.